The following is paid programming.
It's time to talk taxes.
New friends, new opportunities, new partners. EG Tax.
It's Ask the Tax Lady with Esther Gulius and EG Tax on News Radio 930 WBEN. To reach Esther now, call 803-0930. Toll free at 1-800-616-9236. And cell calls are free at star 930. And now, live from the WBEN studios, it's Esther Gulius.
Hey, everybody, this is the Tax Lady. And, you know, we've been waiting and waiting. We've been promising and promising. And I think this is going to be the week that everything is put to bed relative to the big, beautiful bill. And we're going to give you what we know so far so that you know how this is going to affect you. And it's going to affect everybody.
They say July 4th, maybe, right?
Yeah, that's what they say. I'm Esther Gulius, the Tax Lady, with Tiffany Fabian. That was her.
Hey, happy Saturday.
And Christopher Fabian.
Hello, Esther.
Hello, Christopher. So I think, you know, it kind of makes me crazy when I read newspapers and articles, because you can see that the writer wants you to believe certain things. And so that's what makes me so passionate about this, because we do taxes and we know how it's all going to fare out, and that's why we want you to know. Our phone number here in studio is 8030930, 8030930, star 930 in a cell phone, 716-8030930. And so the Senate has come up with their version, and a lot of the changes that I thought weren't going to happen are going to happen. So we're going to kind of talk about that. So the first thing I want people to know is, if you are a single taxpayer, you're going to your standard deduction this year is $15,000. That's going to raise. So that I think it's going to be more like $17,000. In other words, till you make that threshold, you don't pay taxes. If you're a senior, this year it's $33,200, and if they do this, the $6,000 for each senior over 65, you'll get another $12,000 in write-offs. So you won't pay taxes if you're filing a joint return and you're both over 65 till you have income of $45,200, and that's taxable income.
Yep, that's right.
So you think about that.
Yeah, that means that there's room, if people want to make Roth conversions, if people want to take more out of their IRAs, tax-free, there's room.
See, the thing is, when you have to do an RMD because you're 73, that's money that they're requiring you to take. But it is your money. And if you find yourself in one of these wonderful situations where you're going to save a lot of money in taxes, and you're not paying for taxes anymore, but you're sitting there with $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 in a 401k plan, IRA plan, you might want to start withdrawing it, because everybody talks about Roth conversions because they're tax-free when you take them out. Well, that would be the effect of moving it to a Roth, and actually you could move it to a Roth, because you're not going to pay taxes on it. And so we want to make sure that once we got everything nailed down, we're going to start doing seminars so we can help you to get as much money out as possible, because these are these big, beautiful tax bill moves, except for the ones that were done when Trump first became president. They're going to make those permanent, but these ones are going to be temporary, so you want to make sure you avail yourself. And anyway, all tax law is kind of temporary, right, Chris?
Oh, God, yes. No matter, even if he makes it permanent, in 4 years, it could change again.
That's for sure. That's true. But we want to make sure that if it's a 3-year window, that the people here in Western New York, they take advantage of all of these things, So anyway, large changes. And so, but one of the things is, the only way you can itemize is if your itemized deduction exceeds the standard deduction, right?
Right.
Yep, that's right.
Because obviously, if they're going to give you $45,200 in write-offs, and you have income under that, you're not going to pay taxes.
Yep. Yep.
And so what does this mean? I mean, if you have Social Security and you're having withholding taken out, you might want to stop it.
That's right. And that's why I think once you know all the details, having these conversations in the seminars is a really, really good idea.
So this is what I think is going to happen. I'm pretty sure. The standard deduction is going to increase. Like we said, it's going to be $32,000 married joint plus the $1,600 catch up plus $12,000 for a married couple. So that's a lot of money. The state and local tax deduction, which they did not want to give to New Yorkers because the people that are in red states say, why should we help subsidize New Yorkers who are so stupid to live there? We don't want to let them itemize their deductions. Well, it looks like they came to their senses, and they are moving the state and local tax deduction if you itemize to $40,000.
Yep. Yeah,
and
which is really good.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, because all of us people
For New Yorkers,
who pay,
it's pretty cool.
in California, people and people in Chicago, we have a daughter there. They pay a lot in property taxes.
Right. All right. The next thing is they're going to allow you to take up to $10,000 for cars assembled in the United States, for the interest on cars assembled in the United States. That's great for the automobile industry.
Yep,
It's great
it sure
for people.
is. Yeah. Do you know, somebody just bought a brand new car last week, and it's a U.S. car manufactured in the U.S. Is it going to be retro, or is it going to be for?
Well, that's some of the details I don't have yet.
Okay.
Been reading articles all this week. Some
people
people
are
want to make it
asking.
retro.
Yeah.
Some people want to move forward with it. We will know. If it goes to his desk on the 4th and it comes out in law, I will have it read right away. I'll be kicking back, making hamburgers, reading the tax law.
For sure.
They're going to offset. Remember, it was like there's going to be no tax on tips, there's going to be no tax on overtime, and there's going to be no taxable Social Security. Well, they backpedaled on that, and that's where the $6,000 is going to come in if you're over the age of 65, which doesn't make it right, but it's righter than it's been.
Yeah. It's
Right?
it's sort of like meeting in the middle.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
What do you say,
so
Chris?
you're going to get a big deduction for this. What, Chris?
Oh, no, I was just going to say, right, it's like anything. One hand wants this, the other hand wants that, and they're going to meet in the middle. So we got to see where that middle comes into play.
Right, and then estate taxes are going to go to $15 million. And again, if you're somebody that you've been thinking about estate planning, and you got that size of an estate, you should think about that because otherwise your estate pays 40% in taxes once you go to glory.
And that's just the federal.
And that's
You
and
gotta.
that's just-
I know. Talking to my daughter who lives in Chicago, she was looking, and I said, "Well, what's the estate law in Illinois?" "Oh, they don't have taxes." I said, "Yes, they do."
Yeah, they do.
And she looked it up, and she was blown away by
they do.
where it starts and how much it is. And I said,
Right.
"See, they get you too." And that's the
Right.
thing, when you're estate planning, you really got to throw in the states, because New York is only $6 million, and if you hit over that, it all gets taxed. Where the federal, that's your standard deduction. The
Right.
$15 million. You have to be worth over. If you're worth $16 million, only $1 million is going to get taxed on the estate, and it's totally different
on the federal, but on New
the
York
federal.
State they'll tax you on the whole thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I mean, you see what's going on in New York City with this communist guy. And it really is sad for all New Yorkers, because it's basically, and I heard Mike and Glenn say this before we came on, that if so goes New York City, there goes New York State, because look at the taxpayers in New York City. If they're that wealthy, they can just pick up their businesses and move to Florida or Texas,
Yeah, I got a funny thing to say about that after the break.
Okay, well, I know we're going to take a break, but I wanted to also say the child tax credit is going to be increased to $2,200 rather than $2,500, and that kids savings accounts is still in. That's $1,000 for children under the age of 14, and you can put up to $5,000 a year until the kid turns 18, and at 18 they can take it out for college, to buy their first house, or to start a business. And of course the overtime is tax-free for the first $25,000, and tips are tax-free up to $25,000. So when you think about this whole thing, like as a stew, there is lots of stuff in here that is going to save people a lot of people won't pay taxes anymore.
Yep.
Right.
We talked about for now until they change the law again.
All right. So I'm Esther Gillies, the tax lady. 8030930. 8030930, star 930 on a cell phone. You can text us at 716-8030930. We're talking about what's coming down the pike, and more importantly, how it's going to affect you. And we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. Hey everybody, this is the tax lady, Esther Golias, joined in studio with Tiffany Fabian, Christopher Fabian. We're just starting, it's like peeling an onion, and the devil's in the details, I might add. And so once we get all the details, we'll point them out. But right now you can see like a light ahead in the tunnel, and it's getting brighter and brighter because I think shortly this is going to become law, and we'll find out if any of it's going to be retroactive. I think some of it is. And what we should do moving forward. So but wanted to talk 8030930, 8030930, star 930 on a cell phone. So looking at itemizing now, looking at the new $40,000 threshold for the state and local taxes that's going to come into effect, we're back to probably a lot of people itemizing again. So one of the first things that you would be able to take would be medical expenses that exceed 7.5% of your adjusted gross income.
Right. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And there's a lot of things that are medical: dental, glasses, trusses, braces, crutches, ambulance, hospital, Medicaid, Medicare Part A, B, and C, your co-pays, and on and on and on, a nursing home, anything to alleviate a specific medical problem is a potential medical deduction. And if it exceeds 7.5% of your adjusted gross income, that becomes part of your itemized deduction.
Yeah, and you might want to plan. So maybe you were thinking of having dental spread out over a few years. Well, you might want to put it on a care credit card and put it all in 1 year to maximize your position for itemizing. You know?
Absolutely. And that's great because let's say, and I have my sister-in-law just had new everything done in her mouth, $45,000. Wow. So yes, it really exceeds 7.5% of her adjusted gross income. But I said, Rita, go get your glasses. Go take care of whatever else you need done.
Have your husband do,
because you want to load it up, because once you hit that 7.5% threshold, you're good to go.
Everything's icing on the cake.
Right.
Yep.
Then the next thing, and this is where the state and local taxes come in. Your property taxes now, and your foreign taxes that you might have paid, and your state income taxes that you paid, if that is under $40,000, you get to take the whole thing. It was all limited to $10,000 in the last few years.
Right.
So that's a big change.
Yeah, that's going to help a lot of people here, other states that do have those high property taxes. I mean, and not to mention, too, I know people are going to say, see, there you go, they're helping the rich again. Other people who, including their state withholdings, can now be more than the $10,000.
Right.
Between the property taxes and the state withholding, yeah, they're going to.
And your state liability from last year.
Yep.
Right? That you paid in 2025. Mortgage interest is going to be deductible on your primary and secondary home. You got to watch home equities, though. Why?
Because it has to be for fixing or beautifying or making changes to your current resident. It can't be using your home equity to pay off credit cards and things like that.
Right, and that came into the law like 4 years ago, but so few people were itemizing, it never was an issue. But now with them liberalizing the SALT deduction, a lot of people are going to be thinking, oh, well, maybe I can deduct my primary, secondary, and home equity, but only if it made improvements to your primary home.
Right. Yes.
Okay, and then charity is something that goes to itemized deductions, and unless it is the qualified charitable deduction on an IRA distribution for your RMD, right?
Right, because that is a subtraction from income, your QCD. So that helps you right away, where the itemized deduction is if you got to meet the floor of itemized deductions before the charity would help you. So yeah, QCD is much better than a charitable.
And then of course gambling expenses are deductible up to income, and investment interest up to investment income. So those are what becomes part of your itemized deduction. But let's just go with an example here. Let's say we have a couple adjusted gross income, 50,000. They have 5,000 in Medicare Part A and B. So once they apply the 7.5% of the adjusted gross income, only $1,250 becomes deductible. They have property taxes of 8, no mortgage interest, and charity of 3. So their total itemized deductions would be $12,250, but their standard deduction, if they're single, would be $16,000. So you won't itemize.
Yeah.
Right?
Do you want me to read the text or no?
I will in 1 second.
Okay.
And then, but let's say that we have a married couple who have property taxes of $12,000, state withholding of $10,000, mortgage interest of $19,000, charity of $1,000. Their total itemized deductions are $42,000. Under the old law, they couldn't have itemized, but under the new law, because of the SALT deduction being raised, they can, and they would save about $2,640 in taxes. Yes, and so read the text.
Okay. It starts with Esther. I'm in a new relationship. I haven't filed for 45 years. I'm self-employed. Prior to this relationship, she was in a bad relationship, and so she doesn't want a bad outcome before we get hitched. I haven't heard from the IRS ever. Where do I even start? Because I want to make my new love happy.
Well, obviously, the reason nobody's said anything to her is because the IRS doesn't know about her income.
Right.
So she hasn't been filing, and so she's been cheating, possibly.
Right. And so I think that he should call the IRS and get copies of any transcripts, because maybe he's been moving a lot. Maybe he's a transient type of person and they don't know where it is that he's living. And so I think calling the IRS and getting a copy of your transcripts would be a good way to go. And then I think you can back into your income. Chris, do you think that this person would only have to file like the last 10 years, or they have to file all the returns?
Well, if he's self-employed, he should file all of them.
Yeah.
Hate to say that would be.
But after 10 years, debt goes away. Of course, it hasn't been 10 years because he never filed.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. I think he's got to file all
But
the
I think
returns.
the important thing is to take a look at how much money his business was making. Because let's say that after his expenses, he only was making $8,000 or $9,000 a year. Well, that's under. He wouldn't have paid taxes on it anyway, except for the FICA. And so all these years, he had nothing going into FICA. And so probably he's not collecting any Social Security because he hasn't been paying in.
Right.
Right. So that would solve that problem. But the other thing that he hasn't been getting is the earned income credit.
Right.
Which may pay for all his Social Security.
Correct.
So I guess this Mr. person who sent us the text, I would suggest let's take a look at how your income and expenses are and how you've been living. I mean, have you been living with your mom? I mean, how do you live?
Right.
Maybe he's on welfare.
Right.
Which is also tax-free.
Yeah. If this texter is similar to the person who called me during the week, which I have a feeling it is, also, if this is the same person, he has to, make sure that his accounting was good and back into his accounting and do the money in and all the expenses. And so he's got a lot of work ahead of him.
But here's the encouraging thing. If he hasn't been reporting and he hasn't been and he's been completely self-employed, and so the IRS doesn't know about his income, then he isn't going to collect Social Security. Unless he had a little part-time job on a W-2 and enough withholding that he owed money. He got a refund every year, and they didn't care because they were keeping his refund. You really don't know until you sit down and go over everything with him.
Yeah.
But like you say, the transcript is always a good place to start.
Yeah. So that's what I'm thinking.
And not to mention, he'd have to pay for his own health insurance if he's not on Social Security because he's not getting Medicare. So he could be in a big hurt.
Or once we got him all straightened out, he'd be able to get Social Security. And I bet you he doesn't have health insurance. I'll bet you.
I don't think he does. Yeah.
And that's another thing I want to talk about after the break. But
Yeah.
I'm Esther Gillius, the tax lady, 8030930, 8030930, star 930 on the cell phone. You can text us at 716-8030930. We're going to take a short break for the news. We'll be back on the other side with your calls. To us, you are family, and I'm really excited about how many people will benefit off of these changes in the tax law. I'm kind of concerned how they're going to pay for it, quite frankly. But here's the thing I've learned about taxes, being in the business for a million years, is that you got to jump on it while the iron is hot, because when I tell you about some of the other changes here, you're going to find out that they're going to repeal a lot of these green energy credits. So, what was isn't what is, and so that's where I really want to make sure that the people listening to Ask the Tax Lady know more than everybody else and start doing things. It isn't going to be business as usual. Now, here's the other thing, and I'm going to ask this to you guys. When you hear these changes and like the cap on overtime and the cap on tips, and there's not going to be any green energy credits, and there's going to be a private school voucher for the next 5 years up to $5,000 for your kids to go to private school, all those kind of things. What do you think New York State's going to do?
You mean
because
how are they going to afford it?
There's going to be people that are filing a state return that aren't filing a federal.
Oh yeah. Oh my God, they're going to file a state return,
but not a federal. In other words,
well, it all depends.
Under the federal, they don't have any tax liability, but under New York State, because New York State is not going to follow suit, I'm going to tell you.
Right.
Yeah, there's no talk yet about what New York State's going to do, and
I mean, they can't afford to do these things.
well, they can afford a lot of. Well, we won't go there.
Right? I mean, think about this. You'll end up not doing a federal return. Well, but the federal, you have to do the federal to do the state, because everything flows over from the federal to the state. But a lot of these, like the first $25,000 in overtime or first $25,000 in tip income that you're taking off, that's going to be an add back on the state of New York.
Right. Correct. It will definitely. There's no way. I mean, what was it? The mayor race that we just had, the primaries in New York City, and so he wants to do free transportation for New York City, free education.
He wants the grocery stores to be owned by the city.
Right. And so
rent control.
Right. And so this is all very expensive.
Have corporations in New York City pay 11% taxes on top of their federal taxes.
Oh my gosh, people are going to flee New York, the corporations.
Well, I know. I just had a client. She was new to New York a couple years ago, and before she buys a house, she's been interviewing people when she goes to the grocery store, goes to the mall, wherever she goes, what are your plans? And they're like, what? Are you going to stay in New York? Is it worth it? Is it not? And she said, you'd be surprised how many people were saying, well, it depends in 26 on who the next governor is and if they're going to change how things are operating, because if they don't change, I'm out the door. I'm leaving New York.
But so many people are tied to their job. And if their job stays here, they have to stay here. You can only do what you can do.
Yeah, but some people work virtually, and so you could maybe take yourself and work virtually.
Yeah, or these corporations can just move their headquarters.
That's true. But that's another change that's being projected. If it gets signed in next Tuesday or Thursday or whatever day that he signs it in, is that he's going to reduce the corporate rate. And the other thing, they're talking about eliminating double taxes on C corps.
Oh, that would be really good. And what do you think about what is
unbelievable?
Yeah, what is wow. What is that's just staggering. What are your thoughts about the interest rate being lowered soon? Do you think that's going to be
Well, it's absolutely true that we're borrowing money to pay our debt.
Right.
From other countries and from other, people that buy the treasury bills. And so as long as the interest rates are high, that means that we're paying more to borrow the money. And I know that if you listen to President Trump, he really would like it lowered, and you understand why.
Right.
So...
Wow.
Anyway.
But circling back, so if they got rid of double taxation on C corps, that's a big money churn for the government.
all of this is big money churns, right?
Yeah.
So it looks like he's hoping that the tariffs are going to offset it. And so then you listen to the news and they say prices are going to go up. Well, if your taxes are going down, something's got to go up.
The gas prices are just the lowest that it's been in about 5 or 6 years. I think $3.22, I think, is what I saw. I mean, so prices are coming down, and there's people backpedaling and saying the tariffs are working. I don't know.
Well,
I guess the long game.
So yesterday was like, I know I watched the news, and President Trump was like the happiest camper in the room. So let's hope for the United States that things keep going forward. I mean, you don't have a crystal ball, right? But certainly, New York State cannot afford to do, and I'm not sure that the federal can afford to do what they're doing here, but this is all what he promised. And so on the state, you might not do a federal return, but you will possibly do a state return, because some of these adjustments will not be allowed on New York State.
Right. And I'm not tooting our own horn, but maybe a little. We're real people. We tell it like it is, where you go on social media, you go on all these other places online. You don't know what's true. You don't know how people can manipulate things with AI, chat, GPT. How many things do you see in social media that are false? And you just like, whoa, is that really true? Because you don't know. But here every Saturday, we're going to tell you what is true with the taxes and what's going to happen and how it's going to work.
We're not just going to give you the what we want it to be. I mean, I'm going to tell you what it is, not what I want it to be. And I don't want to manipulate how you think. I want you to think how you think, no matter what side of the aisle you are. I mean, I want you to know what it really is. Like, there's a lot of people that have done Roth conversions. They've moved from traditional IRAs over to Roth IRAs, and they've paid the taxes to do that. Had they waited, they could have probably done it a lot less expensively.
There goes the crystal ball,
right?
But
because one thing I've always said, you can never tell what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And now here I listened to Trump the other day. He was saying he thought nobody should pay income taxes if their income's on $150,000. Now that may be there will be no EG tax anymore, but that's what they're talking about. So we will keep you abreast.
Well, that could be just the federal law, not the state.
And only for a few years.
I'm Esther Gullius, the tax lady from EG Tax, 8030930, 8030930, star 930 on a cell phone. How do you feel about this? Are you apprehensive? And then the other thing, it says that poor people are going to pay more. The poor people that are going to pay more are the ones that are here illegally, because right now they have free health insurance, free Medicaid, and free education and free this and that and welfare and all that stuff. That's the poor people that are going to pay more. But a taxpayer, but a federal taxpayer is going to pay less.
Yeah.
Unless you're
that's,
wealthy, because all of these things, once you hit about 400 to 500,000, they start to all go away.
That talks about what you and Chris just mentioned about being truthful, because people will spin it and say people who are on Medicaid are going to pay more. The reason they're going to pay more is because they're not going to get free Medicaid and the illegals. I mean, that's where the truth, you can spin the truth any way you want to.
Well, and that's why I want to make sure people understand what the truth is. Like, for instance, what is the difference between Medicare and Medicaid?
Medicaid is for lower income people, and it's health coverage for those lower income people, whereas Medicare is for seniors over the age of 65. And they're both wonderful products with wonderful coverage, but the difference is one is for the seniors, which is Medicare, and Medicaid is for lower income people. Now, with that being said, you could be a senior duly covered and have both Medicare and Medicaid because you're a lower income senior. And so if you're duly covered, you're going to have maybe some things that you might not have with Medicare, because under Medicaid, you can potentially get aid services, you can get medical transportation.
I mean, and I'm
nursing
sorry,
care.
That's the thing. Medicaid gives you more benefits
Than Medicare.
for no money, where you ask anybody 65 or older who's on Medicare, how good is their health insurance? And you'll get into a fight because they don't like it. Their prescriptions are high, everything.
They have to get the Advantage plan.
And again, the people that are here illegally have been on Medicaid.
Right.
Yep.
And under Medicaid, everything is paid for. There's no deductibles. Very rarely is there a deductible. Everything is paid. Now, one of my very good friends is a hardworking single lady, makes a modest income, about $50,000. And of course, she can't get Medicaid because she makes too much money.
Right.
Right?
Right.
But, and she had some extensive dental work, and she had her busted ankles, she had busted knees, she had medical expenses. And now the hospital's going after her for non-payment. She can't afford it. Right. But had she quit working, right, and just kind of sat around and I have to tell you, a lot of these people work under the table, right?
Right.
Then she could have had Medicaid instead of Medicare. When she doesn't have Medicare, her health insurance through her employer, which is not very good, it has high deductible.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the pickle that so many people are in.
That's right. And you've got to be careful because every state has different Medicaid options and considerations. And so,
well, this is what's interesting. For New York State, you can qualify for Medicaid if you have monthly income of under $1,800 if you're single. And you have to have assets of under $32,396. But they don't count your personal residence. So if you had $1 million personal residence, that doesn't go against your asset limit. So you would still qualify for Medicaid in New York State. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't realize that.
what did you say the asset limit was?
$1,097,000. On your the
That's
asset
for-
limit's
that's for health
32,396, but they don't count your house.
Is that for? That's not for the health insurance. That's for the other benefits offered through Medicaid.
Right, that's for Medicaid, right.
Right, because the health insurance, I know there's a lot of people who retire at 62, and until they're 65, they go on a form of Medicaid to give them that free health insurance because how costly the other insurance is, and they're living off their investments, and they do have a lot of assets. So
And a lot of people don't know that they would qualify for Medicare and Medicaid. Right?
Yeah,
They can have dual.
Yeah, they can have both. But I think I've talked to, I know for Medicaid, in order to get the Medicaid coverage, you can't have an asset if you're a single person of more than 35 or 40,000.
32,396.
That's right. That's the figure. You're such a smart lady.
32,396, but the home equity doesn't count.
Yeah, and you can also get a pool trust
Right.
if your income is too high. So if you don't qualify for Medicaid because your income is too much, you could do a spend down program where you could get a pool trust and you could allocate the money for what your food is, your electric is. So if you're over too much, you could qualify for something called a pool trust, and then you could potentially qualify for Medicaid.
But the thing is, when you're listening to this at home, I can imagine people saying, "Yeah, right, like I'm going to put a swimming pool in my backyard." No, it's a pool trust. I mean, it's because this sounds so confusing, and people don't know who to turn to.
It is very confusing, but I help people get Medicaid. Because I know the right avenues, and so it's very confusing.
Anyway, I'm Esther Gullius, the tax lady from EG Tax, 8030930, 8030930, star 930 on a cell phone. You can text us at 716-8030930. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back on the other side. Hey, to us, you are family. I'm Esther Gullius, the tax lady from EG Tax. We're talking about some of the things coming down the pike and hopefully giving you some information on Medicare, Medicaid. Tiffany, you probably are aware, I'm sure you are, that there is a food feature with Medicare. People can get their groceries paid. Are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, but they would have to have a chronic condition. I know all day long I get people calling me because I'm a senior, and they'll say, "Do you qualify for groceries?" And I think, yeah, right. Yeah. But come to find out, I did research on this. You have to qualify for this SNAP program. And so you have to have a chronic condition, and it's designed for people with chronic illnesses such as diabetes, congestive heart failures, or a dual special needs plan for people that qualify for both Medicare and Medicaid. And they could get groceries of anywhere from $25 to $200 per month.
Oh my gosh. If you have Medicaid and you go into a long-term program, you can get travel, you can get aid services. The aides can actually assist with light housekeeping. They can help you with meal prep, groceries. The list goes on and on.
And it's what's so interesting. And again, when you read these articles and they make it sound like, oh my gosh, negative things are going to happen to you. If you're a U.S. citizen, you're in good shape. If you're not working, they're going after able-bodied people because it is affecting those people who already were able-bodied and paid into everything, and they're trying to save the Social Security system by telling people that are here illegally or people that aren't working that are able-bodied between the ages of 19 and 64.
Yeah.
Go get a job, 80 hours a month. 80. And the beautiful thing, we talked about this before, if you start working, who knows? You may like it.
Yep.
I mean, I can't think of anything worse than to sit around all day watching TV. I can't think of anything worse.
Be a movie critic, right? Yeah. It's,
All right, why don't we got some text?
the first text says, Esther and gang, my daughter who is 21, I claimed her, but she also filed her own return and she claimed herself. We got a letter from the IRS.
Yes, you did.
But she's in college and she gets a K-1. Should I have not claimed her? I don't know what to do. Can you help me?
Well, you have to really kind of unscrew the spaghetti. So you're going to have to look at your daughter's income and your income and make sure that you gave over 50% to her total support. If you did, then you're going to amend your daughter's return, and she's going to pay back a little bit. I got to believe it's a little bit, and then you're going to be fine with your situation. If I don't know if you've actually received your refund and they're looking for yours back or hers back. But what I'd suggest you do is call us on Monday, and then we can look at. You can fax over. Text over the two returns, and we'll tell you who should amend the return. Probably it'll be your daughter amending, and there shouldn't be too much that she'd have to pay back.
Right. Yeah, and so you really have to pay attention.
And she said she gets a K-1.
Yes.
I think she probably meant a 1099.
No, I think I do this person's tax return too, and she does get a K-1, and Chris does their corporate return, if it's who I'm thinking of.
The daughter has a K-1?
Yes.
Or the mother has a K-1?
No, they both do.
They're in business
You mean
together.
investments?
They're in business
Oh,
together.
they're in business together. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's a
Is it a
beautiful thing.
partnership?
I think it's a corporation, if I'm remembering correctly. But, you know, you got to look at all the pieces so you can
Right.
make the puzzle work.
The 50%.
Right, and that really that's why taxes are so difficult. And I know people say, "Why don't they make it simple?" Because they make it complicated because they want to make it fair.
Right.
And believe me, if we had a flat tax of 10%, that means somebody making $10,000 would pay $1,000, and somebody making $1 million would pay $100,000.
That would not be fair.
And that would not be fair because the millionaire would love to pay 10%.
That would not be fair.
So they'll muddy up the waters. So the best thing to do is to make sure you have somebody competent helping you.
That's right.
Okay, we got another text.
Yep.
here.
The other text says workers and employers pay into Medicare, so we're just getting it back. It's not free. I think he confuses Medicare and Medicaid.
Right. Medicaid is a government program that gives health insurance and benefits to low-income people, and they didn't pay in.
Right.
In most situations.
Right.
And Medicare is for those people that have worked all their life that are now seniors, 65 or older, and that's what you paid in all your life. But Medicaid is for people that are low income, and the interesting thing is when we are doing when we're doing estate planning and people worried about going into nursing homes, what they end up doing is trying to get on Medicaid
Right.
at the end of their life.
Yep. Very confusing.
And they want Medicaid to pay their nursing home expenses. And so that's what all of this gifting back and forth is. But there are people that have come over to our country and they don't have any insurance and they go on Medicaid.
Is that so confusing? Another thing that's really important, I do lots of people's tax returns who are over the age of 65 and they're still working. Lots more you see this, and they get health insurance from their employer, but it's required when you reach age 65, you have to apply for Medicare.
Right? Because you can pay more if you don't, even though you have insurance. You have to let them know you're still working and have health insurance, so you don't need it. If you don't do that,
But
you
but
get
you'll
penalized
you'll
the rest
just
of your
have
life.
Part A. You'll have Medicare Part A if you're covered under your employer's health
Right, but you
insurance.
have to notify them.
You do have to notify them.
Getting
right.
paid forever
But
the
Part
rest of your
B,
life sort of would stink.
Part B, which is for doctors and prescriptions, that you don't have to do as long as you're covered under your employer's plan, even though you're 65.
Right.
And then you can do Part C,
Right. You could do Medicare Advantage. Yep. A lot of the people that I see have Medicare Advantage, and it's a wonderful coverage. It gives them a little bit more benefits and a little bit more security. I think it's a really good idea.
You mean to get
Medicare
Part C.
Advantage.
But
Yeah.
here's the thing. When you don't know something, it is not a good thing.
No.
Because I'm going to tell you, life goes on without you, and for especially seniors that can't get online because they're not computer literate. There is so much wisdom that you can get when you can just sit down and read what some of these benefits are that you're unaware of. But I will say this, you can always call us at EG Tax. We will be happy to help you and explain everything. And we do have health insurance people right in our office.
Yeah, and I want to
Exactly.
tell somebody there's a program where you can get your Medicare. I got a set of flowers from one of my clients this year because I told him about the Medicare savings program, and you have to contact Erie County or Niagara County. And if you're a moderate income person, I mean, you could make 60, 70,000 a year. And there's a program in New York State. You have to call and ask for an application. And that Medicare that you pay every month, about $180, Erie County or Niagara County will reimburse you back for it, and they'll prorate it. All that money after you apply, they'll send you a check for a couple of $1,000s, and you don't have to pay for the $160 every month that you pay for Medicare. They'll reimburse it to you. That's called a Medicare Savings Program, and you have to get an application, and nobody tells you about it. And then also, I want to tell you, when you get that program, your drugs drop significantly in price. And so that's why my client sent me flowers. He goes, not only did I get the $160 a month, but also my medications. He's on lots of medications. He goes, you saved my house, basically. So just, there's things you don't know about, like you were saying.
And then here's the other thing is, if you have a paid for house and you're a senior and it's really, things are tight, you can do a reverse mortgage. So, and that's tax-free income too.
Right.
And so, and there are all kinds of different things that you can do. The important thing is reach out.
Right.
And I mean,
Knowledge is
are we
power.
going to charge somebody to talk to them over the phone?
No, not at all, never.
I mean, and we do budgeting. We sit down. We're so happy to help you because it is not easy. And there are so many angles. And here they're going to change the tax law again this week, and it's going to be even more complicated.
Yep, sure is.
And taking advantage of everything that's available to you. Tiff, that's called a Medicare what?
Medicare Savings Program. You actually have to call and get an application. You have to call Erie County or Niagara County and get an application. And the $160 a month for your Medicare will be put back into your check. So your Social Security check will be more every month. It's a wonderful, wonderful program.
And so I just went online here.
We're over.
I know. I got to go. Goodbye, everybody. Esther Gullius, have a great 4th of July. Talk to you later.